It's time for Albuquerque Real Estate Talk with New Mexico's #1 real estate team, Tigo and Tracy Venturi, the Venturi team from Keller Williams Realty.
Wow. Good morning, Tigo. We love that new intro, don't we?
I know, it's an awesome new intro. That is great.
So we are Tracy and Tigo Venturi, Venturi Realty Group of Keller Williams Realty with Albuquerque Real Estate Talk.
Yeah, we've been doing it now. Gosh, I can't. So we're on like show 420, been doing this weekly show, half-hour show. It's been great for us because it honestly, it forces us to really be a student of the real estate world and the real estate market, right? And we learned so much that we're able to pass on to everybody here every week, and it's been great doing this show. And appreciate Eddie and appreciate Kiva, and it's a great resource for our community too.
So it's holiday week, Hanukkah,
Yeah.
Christmas. We've got New Year coming. I know everyone that listens and has listened to us for over 8 years knows you always do your predictions for the year. So I'm sure we'll have that coming up in the next few weeks.
My very cloudy crystal ball. Actually, I think my crystal ball is not quite as cloudy as other people, but you know, it's there's just so much going on with real estate and the economy in general, and real estate is such a big piece of the overall macroeconomic world, you know, and interest rates and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll look into it. You know, I'll give you my short version, which is I'm pretty optimistic about, you know, where we're at in the housing cycle right now.
Right.
Tracy, okay, we got to do one thing.
Yep, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
So we've got to address the new facial hair for those watching.
It's
online.
It's holiday, you know, it's that time of year.
I know you started over Thanksgiving when we basically had 4 days off.
Yeah.
Right, over Thanksgiving, and now it's almost the new year.
Well,
so
last time I grew a beard, it didn't have all this gray in it. Now it does. So
times have changed.
Everybody, you know, all you guys that are in that late 50s know what I'm talking about. Okay,
so,
we got to do this.
What are we
Tracy.
covering today?
Well, first off, we want to talk about, you know, Tracy, you and I have been here in Albuquerque, but we're both Midwest implants, right? I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. You grew up in the Twin Cities area, Minnesota. And, you know, I just thought, you know what, I got to look and see what the weather is in those two communities. And so in Ann Arbor today, it's going to be high of 14, low of 12 in Ann Arbor, where I grew up. And, okay, take a guess for the forecast for today in Minneapolis.
I'm going to guess it's not even going to get above 0.
Yeah,
be below 0 all day.
Close. It's a high of 3. High of 3.
I remember those days growing up.
Yeah.
And it was not good. I mean, we grew up on a farm, and we would burn wood in the you know, in the living room to try to keep the house even warmer. I think that we were probably, when I was that young, we were actually burning coal in the furnace in the basement, and we'd go have to stoke it.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, I'm really thankful that we live in Albuquerque area and get this beautiful weather. I know some parts of Albuquerque are not as nice right now, with the northeast area being really cold, but we know that's a fluke and it'll change quickly.
Yep.
So we've got some fun things to talk about today.
Yeah. So I wanted to cover a couple things. First off, you had a story about, you know, what makes a house a home, right? And cover that. I also want to talk about the home shopping checklist. We have one on our website. I just wanted to go into that a little bit. And then I pulled up a story that covers walkable neighborhoods and what that is. So
Albuquerque walkable neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Well, I could probably start guessing.
Well,
so we can play Guess the Neighborhood here soon.
Okay, well, let's jump right into that one, because that's
Albuquerque walkable neighborhoods.
You know, we're not New York, downtown Denver, you know, some of those communities that are really tied into walkable and don't have not so spread out like, you know, Western cities like Albuquerque and Phoenix and some of those other things. Yeah.
So you actually have stats on it. So I'm not gonna look at your stats.
I think a lot of people are familiar with walkscore.com. It's, you know, been around for quite a while now. And what they do is they basically put a score on every single address in the country on how walkable it is compared, in comparison to others, and they give it a scale. And I think without a surprise, number one walkable neighborhood in Albuquerque.
Wait, you were going to let me
Oh,
guess.
well, I'm sorry. I just pulled it up so you're looking at it. So
I didn't,
you're
but
cheating.
I looked and it's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, right.
Nob Hill area, right? The whole University of New Mexico corridor, I'm sure, is up there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, all of it. So, yeah.
All of that.
Nob Hill and what they call University Heights, which is kind of where like the frontier is, kind of that area. We kind of think of that as Nob Hill too, but
Carlisle and Central area.
Yep, yeah. Exactly. And then it's the Huning areas.
So that's down by Albuquerque Country Club, Old Town, Central and Rio Grande area.
Yep.
What's funny is downtown isn't 1 or 2, right?
No,
it's walkable
is, yeah.
because there's not a lot of housing downtown.
No, there's not a lot of residential, but
Yeah.
you think about the Nob Hill and University area, that's top of the list, and then of
What
course
about
that
in the
Old Town area.
Northeast? Is there anything on the list?
Not much, except number 7 there, Jeannie Bellama.
Jean Bellama. So that's Eubank and Constitution or Manal, probably.
Yep.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, Constitution and.
A few years ago, we talked about Walk Score. I can remember back when Eddie was two station locations ago.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about it for a long time. But I remember about 5 years ago, I had a client who came from a very highly populated downtown city that lived there, and boy, the Walk Score was huge. And I remember, wanting to be walkable to a coffee shop, walkable to a grocery store. Some of the neighborhoods that I showed, one of them was Old Town.
Yep.
The nearest grocery store at the time was Central and Atrisco, or the La Montanita Co-op at Rio Grande and Indian School. But another one that came up quite a bit was Montgomery and Eubank.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Satellite Coffee in the area. There's at Juan Tabo. There's a Flying Star, and there was some nice properties in walking distance. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. And the other one that's high on the list is the Borellis area. Again, with not a surprise there. So, the thing is, Albuquerque, it is a very sprawling city, right?
We're the Wild West.
Yeah.
We had a lot of room to spread out when the city was growing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing. So, if you're ever, curious about that, you can go to walkscore.com and plug in any address, and it'll give you an idea of what it's like, and then show you what's in the area, as well as transit and buses and stuff like that as well.
Perfect. It kind of made me think about a different client I had a few years ago. When we're working with home sellers and helping them market their home for sale, we talk about the P's, the 3 P's: the price, the property, and the location. But what's that, a P? You always say 3 P's.
It's
Anyway, it's location, price, condition, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when people back to busy roads here, it's a bit of a difficult sale because we don't have a lot of homes backing to really, really busy, loud roads. Right. And it's interesting because when I was working with somebody from New York City, they wanted that, right? Yeah. That was comfortable to them. That was what they were used to. Right. So we were actually seeking out homes. It's just so odd to me to think about how fun that was.
Yeah.
They ended up buying a house backing to Unser, near the Ladera area, near a stoplight even. When people stop and start, it's even louder. And they had huge views because of it looking out over Unser. So it was really nice.
The other place that's interesting, it's not on the list when we talk about, kind of walkable communities, is the Windrock area.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much going on there with
Uptown.
the redevelopment and, Uptown and all of that. So.
And they're building residential there now at the Windrock property. Yeah.
Okay. So, Tracy, what makes a house a home?
That's a good one, Tigo. So there's a lot of things. So a lot of times we talk about the financial reasons, right, to have a house.
Some of us do a lot.
Some of us do a lot, right? But what really makes a house a home, right, is being able to customize it, to have pride of ownership, to be able to make your happy place, right? Kind of create the space that makes you most comfortable. You know, even if the color is purple that you want on your walls, if that's what makes you happy and you feel comfortable, you can do that. It's something to be proud of. Homeownership is a big deal, right? And a lot of people really aspire to it, and it is something to be proud of in addition to the wealth building benefits of it, right? And you can choose to pick a place that really meets your space needs when you're buying a house. When you're renting a property, a lot of times you have to settle and the space needs don't really match for you. If you're in an apartment, you might not have a garage, or you might have to go to a laundromat to do your laundry if there's no laundry on property, right? Depending on how small of a complex you're
Yeah.
in or something. Buying a house or a condo or a townhome, you get to choose what you want and make sure that it fits your needs. You might need a 9-car garage, like a house I saw come on the market a couple weeks ago. And, you know, you might need a workshop, or you might need backyard access to store a boat or an RV or something, or you need higher walls and fencing for your animals, whatever it might be. But you can also customize your surroundings. So you can make the outside as decorative as you want within guidelines, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of part of the benefits besides wealth building on how to make a house a home, make it comfortable for you.
I always go back to what you would say many times, especially when the kids were younger, Tracy, was, you know, making memories, right? Making memories with your families. And to me, that's really what, you know, home and that security that you get with a home is all about. Is you get the security, and then you get the relationship piece of it, the social piece of it as well. Now, that doesn't mean you have to own a home to get those things. It's just when you own a home, it just seems like this higher level of pride in having it.
Yeah. It brought up sort of a sadness thought for me, you know, that what you're talking about, because we see and we help people often that are downsizing or selling a family home with so many memories. And so walking through that with people and that life change, it can be really hard. And there's a lot of memories, you know, we have that wall in our closet, right, where all the kids' heights at different ages are on the wall.
Sure.
And we've helped people who've gone through that, and we give them solutions for how to capture some of those memories that they have in a home and that other people have in their home, and to make sure to take the time to do that before the sale, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, for most of our audience that listens, they kind of understand, they get it, the home ownership thing. And, you know, there's the whole financial piece of it, but we didn't want to talk about that because I talk about that all the time.
That's right.
But, you know, the financial piece is a really important part of it because of the security. And that's the emotional piece of it. Is the financial piece ties into that because, you know, you're locking in your housing costs for, let's say, 30 years.
Right.
Right. So there's some stability there as well, which adds to that sense of security.
You just couldn't not go there.
I couldn't not go there.
Yeah.
I had to bring it all together. I had to do it.
Yeah.
I could not do it.
Good job.
Okay. Tracy, we work with a lot of first-time home buyers. We work with a lot of you know, people that haven't moved in a long time and are, you know, thinking about what they need in a home. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, it's the Venturi Realty Group. We're with Keller Williams Realty here in Albuquerque. It's Tigo and Tracy Venturi, and we've been doing this show for 420 some shows now, but I just wanted to get back to that. So one of the things that we always recommend people do is a home buyer wish list.
Right. And we sit down and do sort of a buyer consult and help people kind of focus in on that list, right? A lot of times people have a list in their head, or one person that's buying a house with another person has a different idea of what's important in their next house, right?
And they may not have communicated it with each other.
Right. Or even recognized it until you really focus. Take some time to set aside and really talk about it, right? Because sometimes it's all in our heads and we assume the other person knows what's important to us. But that's where, we like to do a buyer consult and help bring the decision makers and the occupants together and
I'm
go
laughing
through
because
it.
we've been married 25 years, and so
Almost 24 and a half.
24 and a half. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the the list we have is kind of general. It's on our website at welcomehomebq.com, and you can just walk through it. And it's basic things like, what's your timeline, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, those basic things. How large, is what's your financing plan? How are you going to finance it? And so
Our school's important.
School's
Being near,
right.
like I said, that one client, coffee shops.
Right.
But a lot of times we have you go through it and fill it out, but then to go through it with you and talk about it. Because sometimes people will say, I have to have 4 bedrooms. And we go, okay, tell us how you use those 4 bedrooms. Is it 4 bedrooms or is it 3 bedrooms and an office, to make sure we don't miss a house that's 3 bedrooms plus an office? Or sometimes it says, I must have a fenced yard or a big yard, right?
Well, and that's what I want to address. That is what I would recommend people do, and a lot of people do this. I mean, it seems common sense once you hear it. Is obviously you've got the basics, right? Bedrooms, bathroom size, number of garage spaces and stuff like that. But then you have to go through and say, okay, what are the must-haves?
Right.
What are the things I have to have? I have to have a 2-car garage. I don't want to park my cars in the street, right?
Right.
And those are the must-have. Those are the no compromise. And then there should also be the list that's the stuff that I definitely do not want in my home. So that could be, we hear it all the time, a swimming pool, for example.
Right.
Right. People are like, well, sometimes you get both extremes with swimming pools.
Must
right?
have or must not have. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happens is, what we find is, after people make these lists, when they start shopping, they realize that, maybe they're not going to get everything, and there's going to have to be compromises, right?
Right.
There always
Right.
is.
And one of the things that I've seen a lot where people say a must-have is like RV storage on property.
Mm-hmm.
And once they find sometimes that really limits them finding the right house, they go, okay, I'll pay for storage for my RV.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it changes once you start looking at houses, and that's part of the process. We expect that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing I would recommend people do is, think about, what does it mean to you, these features or stuff. So
and the move,
not just the feature, but what's the benefit? How's it going to benefit you and your family? And that's a good way to think about, again, how important something is. Is it
right.
a wish, or is it a gotta have kind of thing? So
right.
yeah, it's a good exercise to go through, and obviously, your realtor can help you with that, and maybe bring up things you hadn't even thought about, for sure.
So is now a good time to buy a house?
Well,
I know the answer to that.
well,
We're in the holiday season. People have some time off from work right now. Some kids are out of school. A lot of times we see our people looking at properties that go up this time of year. So if you want to sell your house and you think it's not a good time to be on the market, it might be, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you what's happened now, just in the last few weeks, is we've seen the number of homes on the market drop quite a bit. We went from about 1,700 homes in the greater Albuquerque area on the market just a few weeks ago to now, I think it's under 1,500. So, percentage-wise, that's a pretty big difference. Very common this time of year, needless to say. I would suspect people, just common sense would tell you, yes, a lot of people aren't going to list their homes for sale, right during the holidays. So that is common. We do see some homes coming off the market this time of year, where maybe it was on the market, didn't go under contract, didn't get a buyer, and so now they're just going to put it on pause until maybe after the new year. So
right.
we will see.
We'll see an influx of properties after the new year, which, right now, if you are thinking of buying a house, the competition is less. We are still seeing, we had a couple of our agents on our team this week get in multiple offer situations for some houses. So
Wait, how can that be? I thought
I
the whole
know.
housing market was crumbling.
Yeah,
No,
I
I'm
know.
joking.
I
I'm
know.
joking.
That's why I'm bringing it up
Yeah, no, I
because
know.
I think we
It's
have to make sure people realize that the nice houses and the lack of a lot of houses on the market means it's still tight,
yeah.
right? The good houses priced right are still getting a lot of interest. So as a buyer, we expect February, March, April to be a very busy time for home buying, and maybe getting ahead of it would be wise. So
Yeah, generally we see a good influx of homes coming onto the market. We see inventory. I don't like using that term because they're homes,
right.
but inventory increasing. In early spring is usually when it happens, and if people are thinking about getting their home on the market, I'm just gonna
Oh yeah.
probably the you need to start thinking about it now, right?
Well, they say the biggest mistake people make in getting their house sold
Yep.
is waiting too long to get the house ready. It
Yep.
just takes longer than people think it will.
Yeah, so you need to start thinking about that now because
Getting your house
I think
cleaned
the
out.
best time, if you were to say, okay, if we look at historically year over year, what's the best time to get your home on the market to get the most money for your home first off if you're selling, and if we break it down and say, okay, usually the highest prices are April and May and June, that means you need to
For
get your home
closing.
on the market for closing. That means your home should be on the market probably in February, March
Right.
to hit it right. So you need to, just kind of think about that. And even in January as well.
Right. So if you're thinking of selling this coming spring or
Mm-hmm.
after the new year,
Mm-hmm.
we'd be happy to meet ahead of time and help you plan out what should be done ahead of being on the market. A lot of times home sellers have a list that's a little different than what we have. They might say,
Yeah.
well, I need to paint this or that, and I'm going to take care of this. And we're like, you know what? This might be more important. Maybe it's just a deep cleaning, something like that. But just meeting with us so we can tell you what home buyers are going to be most concerned about.
So let me say this: the peak month that we see homes coming on the market is July, and if you wait that long, you've missed the peak
Right.
of it. Now, I'm not talking a huge difference here. We're talking maybe 1 or 2%, but we always get a 1 or 2, 3% fluctuation in home prices throughout the year. Now, when you look at it on a year-over-year basis, we're generally always increasing, except back in the day. But even now we're seeing year-over-year gains on home prices in the Albuquerque area.
Right. Okay. I know there was more things to talk about. We have several homes. I usually do homes of the week.
Yeah.
Because it's a holiday weekend, we're not doing open houses this weekend. And we do have some sellers who are ready for us to put their house on the market right after the first of the year. So if there's something you're looking for, give us a call. We might have it in the process of being ready to be on the market. Happy to see if we can't help you with that.
I wanted to just make a request. If anybody out there, listens to us, hears us, and, get on our Facebook, get on our YouTube, and like the page. It really helps us out. I'm just going to make that request. We're really focused on just putting out good information. Not look at me, I'm so great. It's not that kind of stuff, right? We're just trying to put out good information about what's happening in the real estate world, because that's what we do. Tracy, I saw something the other day, and I posted it on my Facebook. Speaking of keeping up on the market, if you want to follow me on Facebook, I always put stuff up there about the market. But there was a headline, and the headline was, 15 years ago, the housing market crashed under similar circumstances.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a headline that was circulating online.
Yahoo Finance.
It was a bunch of different places. And, it's a typical clickbaity type headline, right? It's like, okay, we're going to serve up this fear so that you click on it and read our story, right? And again, the headline was, 15 years ago, the housing market crashed under similar circumstances. And so, of course, I went, well, that's a bunch of, Barbra Streisand. And so I read the story, Did you get the reference? No.
Uh,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, sorry. You're shaking your head at me like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. So I I read the story, and you know what the story was about?
hmm.
It was about if you own home builder stocks, you should sell them. That's what it was about. It was about stocks. It wasn't really about the housing market crashing, even though that's what the story headline implied. And I know, Kiva listeners, I know they'd be shocked to know that, news stories are, the headline doesn't always tell the story. And that's true across the political spectrum, I would say, probably. But anyway, neither here nor there. So I just wanted to go through some things, how the housing market today is very different than
Nothing like
15
15
years
years
ago.
ago.
I would say, and I'll just start with this to be fair, the only thing that I see that's very similar is that home prices escalated very quickly over a short period of time. We saw that from 2004 to 2007, and we've seen that now in the last couple of years as well, right? However, the difference in that cycle was there was 8 million jobs lost during that cycle. This time, there really isn't. And
We've been
job market,
hearing news about job losses, but nothing like 8 million.
and this is big picture. This is national.
Right.
The data I'm talking about here. Total people that are working back then was 138 million. Today, it's 158 million. Again, very very different from that standpoint. Now, when we talk about the housing market, the subprime loans, those were, we used to joke, we used to call them liar loans or stated income loans, but we call them liar loans. Basically, stated income loan says, oh, I make this much money and you get a loan. Well, those days are long gone. Since 2008, all those
There's
kind of
none
crazy
now.
loan
Virtually
products and adjustable rate mortgage products are gone. We don't have any. So the loans that are on the books right now are very, very solid compared to back then. This is an interesting one, and we've talked about this before, Tracy. We talk about the lost decade of home construction. And in the previous 5 years before the cycle went down back in 2008, there was 7.65 million homes built in the United States. In the past 5 years now, it's been 4.6. So a little more than half, but again, we're supply constraint. We don't have overbuilding like we saw in 2007. This is the big one.
Wow.
The number of homes on the market. Nationally, back then there were about 4 million homes on the market. Today it's about 1.2 million. That's total in the entire United States.
So 1/4.
And I can give you Albuquerque's data. I told you earlier there's about 1,500 homes on the market right now in Albuquerque, and I think at one point this year we peaked out at about 1,700 homes on the market. Back in 2008, I think it was, or was it 7, we hit about 6,000 homes on the market. So very, very different than back then. And then the last thing is mortgage delinquencies were 10% back then. Today it's 3.6, an almost all-time low. And number of homes in foreclosure was almost 5% back then. Today it's less
than.
It's like a 0.5%.
Right.
So just a very different picture. And so when you see those, doom and gloom headlines, it's really easy to pick out a couple little data points that tell a story. I know, Eddie, people don't do that. They don't just pick and choose one little thing that backs up their argument, right? People never do that. But
Sarcasm.
Yeah, sarcasm. And so, in the housing market, it's no different, especially in the financial world. People love to pitch doom and gloom. It's good for business.
So there we are. Another show in the books.
Another show in
we
the
can
books.
talk real estate all day long.
Yeah.
Actually, we do. Yep.
Dial them directly, 505-448-8888. That's 505-448-8888. Now is a great time to start thinking about what you're doing next year, especially with time to sort of setting up the show. Remember, early spring, about March, April, things really start heating up and start having that conversation. Since now, you don't know what to do with your time during this downtime, go to welcomehomeabq.com, see what is available, see what is out there, start familiarizing yourself with the market, and understanding what you want to do in 2023. Those rates are right perfect right now. It's nice way. I'm glad that you guys stayed with it and really kind of showed what was happening. It looks like that has plenty stabilized. That's been really good, I think, for the market towards the end of the year. It seems like there's a lot of balance out there, and I
It,
see that increase this
yeah,
year.
it is. Rates, got kind of nutty. We were up over 7% there for a short period of time. Now we're in kind of the mid to low six and a half, six and three,
My first
6.25.
mortgage was
Yeah,
675, and
yeah.
honestly, I think that's it's been really good for a really long time. So these six and a half, 6 3/4 are pretty good.
Well, we'll see what the Fed does. There's a lot of, I don't want to get in that whole macro world, but there's a lot of indications that rates are going to come down. But then again, you can also find indications that rates are going to go up. So, it really what it comes down to is, do you want to be a homeowner or not, right?